Well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watt2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. It is game week. Hallelujah. The New York Jets open their 2025 season this Sunday, 1 p.m. at MetLife Stadium against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's give you the game preview. The way that we do it, we go offense versus defense both ways. Then we give you some other game notes as well and try to get into some of the major news, some of the big things to watch for, places where the Jets might exploit their opponent, places where they might be vulnerable. So let's get right into it. So we are going to start here with the New York Jets offense going against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Now, last year, Pittsburgh was 7th in total defense, allowed just 20.8 points per game. And I think this young offensive line of the Jets has maybe their biggest test of the year coming up. One of their biggest tests for sure. You just look at all the firepower the Steelers have on that front seven. TJ Watt, 2021 Defensive Player of the Year. He has a full arsenal of pass rushing moves. He is probably a top 10, top 15 player in the NFL. And you know this, he's going to be lining up at left defensive end. He only had 20 snaps last year when he wasn't moved to the right side. So what that means is Jets rookie right tackle Armand Membu, welcome to the NFL. This is basically, you've just learned 1 + 1, and now you got to take full grade trigonometry. Have fun with that. So one thing that I really want to see the Jets do is put a tight end next to Membu most of the time, or like an Andrew Beck at fullback, because the one thing you can't do is let TJ Watt wreck this game. Last year, the Jets did that pretty well. Now, it was a different coaching staff, and plenty of other things killed them in that game against Pittsburgh, but TJ Watt was really held at bay. But aside from TJ Watt, there's a lot more. You have Cameron Hayward at defensive tackle. He's coming up off his fourth first-team All-Pro selection. He's in his 14th season, and he ranked first among defensive tackles in stops with 35. He was fourth in sacks with 10, and fourth in pressures with 56. Now, it's important to note he has not practiced this week. He is apparently upset with his contract. The Steelers coaching staff saying he's just getting rest days. My expectation is he does play on Sunday, but let's see what happens. You have to go into this expecting that he will play unless they say that he won't, which I don't expect to have happen. Now, if that was all they had at the defensive line, that would give the Steelers one of the best lines in the NFL. Well, the Steelers have continued to add talent to that group. You have depth on the edge. Alex Highsmith, over the last 3 years, 27.5 sacks, 8 forced fumbles. Now, he missed the preseason with a groin injury, so we'll see if he's at full go. He has not been listed on the injury report. And Olu Fashanu is going to have to handle him one-on-one for the Jets offense to really have a chance in this game. Because, again, I want to give Membu the extra help. I trust Olu enough at pass protection to contain Highsmith. That has to happen. You have Nick Herbig, solid as a rotational player. Last year had 5.5 sacks, forced 4 fumbles on just 219 pass rush snaps. And even during the draft, Pittsburgh uses a 2025 first-round pick on Derek Harmon from Oregon. He is going to miss this game with a knee injury. And then in 2023, the Steelers pick Keanu Benton in the second round. He's looking for a breakout in his third season, and that's going to be the man that Josh Myers has to stop. If there's a vulnerable place on this offensive line, it is now at center. Josh Myers is a fine backup, but to see him start, it's a bit of a concern. So Myers is going to have to hold his weight. No doubt about it. Now, while pass rush is the focus, the Steelers' defensive line, they're okay against the run too. Last year, they were 5th best in yards per carry, allowed just 4.1. In the middle of that linebacking core, you've got Patrick Queen, formerly of the Ravens, and Peyton Wilson, both very capable players, fantastic speed. The secondary, now that's where you got some questions, okay? The starting cornerbacks are a combined 64 years old, and neither were on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster last year. In Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey. Joey Porter is there at cornerback too. He takes as many penalties as any defensive back in the NFL. And don't forget our old buddy Brandon Eccles. That's right, about the only Jets cornerback who could get an interception last year. He went over to Pittsburgh. And at safety, replacing Minkah Fitzpatrick is Juan Thornhill. Steelers signed him in free agency away from Kansas City and from Cleveland, actually. He spent most of his career in Kansas City. Last year, Thornhill allowed a 137.2 passer rating and missed over 22% of his tackle attempts. That's the worst among safeties in the NFL. So that might be, if you're looking for a place to target, that could be it. And by the way, you know who else is on the Steelers roster as a backup in the secondary? Chuck Clark. All these ex-Jets have gone over to Pittsburgh. And we know Clark can tackle, but he can't exactly run that well. So the other thing with the Steelers, though, they can give up long runs. They gave up 3 40-plus yard rushes, so they are vulnerable once in a while to giving up a big run. Now, here's the thing. I know the Jets struggled to run the ball last year, but at least now we have coaches with a clue, and we have Justin Fields at quarterback. And this offensive line, well, we thought it was going to be better than last year. Now we have no idea what to expect. And now you have Joe Tippmann moving over to guard, and most people say he's a better guard than he is center, and, that's encouraging. I could see that. But I've got my concerns, as I mentioned earlier, about Josh Myers at center because he's not a run blocker. So this is a situation where you've lost your best run blocker, and the secondary of the Steelers is probably their vulnerability. I think the Jets are going to have to throw the ball very efficiently to win the game. I'm not saying I want to see Fields hawk up the ball 40 times in this game, but if they're going to score points, I don't think this is a situation where you're going to do it running with Brees, running with Braylon again and again and again. The Steelers are going to be focused on that, and when the Jets have an opportunity to go deep, they got to hit on it. So Garrett Wilson, Arian Smith, they're going to have an opportunity or two. They've got to take advantage of it. I just hope that's possible during with week 1. Okay, let's do what we always do. Let's flip the script when the Steelers offense is on the field against the Jets defense. Well, the Steelers offense, they have a quarterback you may have heard of. I don't know how familiar. Aaron, Richards, what's his name? Richards, Robards, something like that. I think we know who he is. Yeah. But their wide receiver room is not too different than the Jets. You have one, I think, top upper echelon player. Jets have Garrett Wilson. Steelers have DK Metcalf. And after that, you have a lot of question marks. Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. I want Sauce Gardner traveling with DK Metcalf all day. Something, by the way, Robert Saleh would never ever consider doing. But tight end is the big deal in my mind of this Pittsburgh offense. You have Pat Freiermuth. He's the incumbent, been there a couple of years. Jonnu Smith came over in the trade from Miami for Jalen Ramsey. And now you also have Darnell Washington, second-year tight end. He's been turning a lot of heads this summer. So I expect a lot of 2 tight end sets, maybe 3 tight end sets in some spots. And even last year, Pittsburgh used 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 25% of the time, and 13 personnel, which is 1 running back, 3 tight ends, 15% of the time. That's the second highest of any team in the NFL. Arthur Smith, their offensive coordinator, loves his tight ends. Count on a whole lot of tight ends on the field for the Steelers. Now, with the run game, you have Jalen Warren, who's recently given a contract extension. You have the rookie Caleb Johnson. The offensive line has questions, and it's very, very young. The infamous Broderick Jones, who New England was convinced the Jets wanted to draft, and so they traded up so the Jets couldn't draft him. We don't really know for sure if that's what the Jets wanted. Who knows what the truth really was. But Jones has moved over from right tackle to left tackle. Now, Jones, this is his 3rd year. He spent pretty much his whole career on the right side of the line, 1,694 snaps on the right side, as opposed to just 129 on the left. So he's either got to stop Will McDonald or Jermaine Johnson. I'm going to tell you this. Both those players are far better at their jobs than Broderick Jones is at his. Jones last year allowed 10 sacks, 43 pressures, and committed 10 penalties. And at this point, Aaron Rodgers, he's got the mobility of an oak tree. And then you keep looking down the line. Zach Frazier at center, Mason McCormick at right guard, Troy Fatanu at right tackle. Very, very young players, very inexperienced players. Fatanu has played 55 offensive snaps since he suffered a dislocated kneecap. JJ, Will, Quinn and Williams, they have an opportunity to make Aaron Rodgers' afternoon an absolute hell. Maybe it'll be the second time in his career he leaves the game at MetLife Stadium prematurely. Not wishing injury on anybody, of course, but I'm saying it's possible. So how about this? How about the Jets try a few blitzes and not just on 3rd down and really try to get inside Aaron Rodgers' head? Let's see if they do that. Couple other game notes. Pittsburgh last year was plus 16 in turnover margin. The only team better in the NFL was Buffalo at plus 24. I keep saying this when I do my live show. The best teams don't beat themselves. They make other teams beat them. And when opportunities come up, they take advantage of them. The Jets, by comparison, were -2 in turnovers last year. Now, they only turned it over 19 times, which is pretty decent, about 1 turnover per game. You credit some of that to Aaron Rodgers because he is pretty smart with the football. But the defense only took it away 17 times. The Jets are going to have to do it a lot more than that if they're going to have a successful season, because it is so important in my mind to give this offense short fields, if no pun intended. If this team is going to thrive, you need the defense to make some big plays. You need the special teams to make some big plays. You can't count on the offense consistently driving the ball down the field 80, 90 yards. And on special teams, Chris Boswell, top kicker in the league for the Steelers. Of course, Nick Folk is there for the Jets. But one thing with Pittsburgh, they had a lot of trouble preventing yardage on kick returns last year. They didn't allow any touchdowns, but they allowed opponents to start past their own 30-yard line. That was the touchback marker on 18 kickoffs. That's the third most in the NFL. So maybe Kene Nwangu is able to bust one at some point. It's going to be a very interesting game to watch. I've got my other video, by the way, with my bold predictions as well as my score predictions. So go ahead and check that out. I really appreciate it. So everybody, that is your game preview for Jets Steelers. I expect it to be a close game. Right now, as I mentioned on the other video, I'm leaning Steelers. I'm just too hurt over the AVT injury. I think it just totally puts the Jets into a state of disarray. Hey, I want to be wrong, as I said, but we will find out. Sunday at 1 o'clock, every team starts 0-0. Well, Philly and Dallas aren't there right now, and Kansas City and the Chargers won't be for very long. But it's a new start. Let's see what happens. Aaron Glenn, we're hitching our wagon to you. Let's see what you got. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.